Infrastructure committee meeting to order. Roll call.
Steve Berner.
Here.
Keith Derrick.
Here.
Jen Reimer. Here. Fred Noble.
Here.
And Dave Reese.
Here.
We have any public comment?
Yeah, just short, two things.
Short, and a timer on.
You don't need a timer.
All right.
So the first one is regarding, my neighbor Greg was not able to come. So I will speak, I guess, for both. We still have a problem with our problem neighbor. So at zoning, at number 4, item 4, last 2 bullet points, they put the political signs in a tree. They put the political signs with lights shining on them. Everywhere, you know, those things keep moving from one side to another. It's continuous. It's just, I don't think this is appropriate, you know, to use this freedom of speech as some sort of, you know, turf war or something. I think that it's fair to ask to enforce those laws. I think that the ordinance is clear. All these signs have to be 5 feet behind the property line, which in our case is 8 feet from the curb, so that would make it 13 feet from the curb. Other areas have different setbacks. It also, the ordinance specifies to be from the side setback, so from your neighbors, the setback number, which in our case is 15 feet. Because I think the ordinance fairly considers that such signs should not be placed against your neighbor uphill or your neighbor downhill. It should just express your desire or your support, and that's it. And it should be right in front of your home, not in front of your neighbor's home. So I would kindly ask you to support that. We cannot, because then we have situations when, you know, Mr. Jenks' sign can stay in the public right away, but other signs cannot. Of course, if you think that the ordinance does not fit the bill, change the ordinance. But we cannot have an ordinance and then a key to the ordinance, how we respect the ordinance, and some people get to abide by it, some people don't. The other thing is back to the circle. No, I'm sorry, not the circle. The police department's need study. I'm confused. Are we doing plans for 1011 North Park? Are we, what is going to, have we decided, have we not decided? It looks like we're spending money on, I don't know, it's confusing to me what's going on. I think that we need, I think before money is spent on studies and plans, we should make a decision. And if as far as I understood, the most logical step would be to build on this property. I think that's what we should put our money into, not into looking at other properties. To me, it's simple. This is a great property. This has good access for police, for everything. I think we should just, you know, make good plans and move on. Again, to me, it's unclear, but it's maybe me. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment? Moving on, zoning code report.
The report itself is self-explanatory unless anybody has any specific questions. I would add, the day after I finalized this report and sent it to Melissa, we got the district justice report for citations. $200 was received in October. There are upcoming hearings November 1st for 1413 Dolphin Avenue and November 2nd for 1743 Reading Avenue.
Michelle, does the number of rental permits we have on year to date, is that similar to previous years?
Yeah, so I mean, 2023 and 2021 would be comparable because units are inspected every other year versus 22 and next year 24 should be comparable. I mean, we do every year get a handful of new properties added to the list, but we also get a handful taken off.
Pretty steady.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
But,
Regarding the last 2 bullet points, my recommendation would be for a motion to recommend council do not enforce section 606.B.3.c and actually repeal it from the zoning ordinance. Just my personal thought is it's private property. If you wanna put a political sign up advertising for a candidate, as long as it meets the size requirements, it's your private property. That section has never been enforced. I could probably list 20 plus properties right now that are in violation of it because their sign is on their private property and they're not aware that there's any setback requirement.
Those would be mine.
I'm sorry.
Would those be mine?
I know
I
there's,
mean, I put everything on the property. I know 2 years ago, there was a big issue with putting it on the right of way side.
and we've
And
started
so-
enforcing that.
Right. But I feel like as long as it's on the property and not the right of way, then yeah.
It's basically addressing the right of way issue.
No, we've
No.
addressed the right of way issue. This section states if you were putting a sign on your private property,
Oh,
where it
okay,
could go.
not the right of way. Okay.
Correct, so my take on that is it's your private property, if you wanna put a sign directly in front of your house or adjacent to the sidewalk on your private property, it's your property.
So what does this say you can't?
You have to be at least 5 feet behind your front yard property line, and you have to be out of the side yard setback as defined by the zoning rules. So basically, there's a setback away from property lines, so it's well beyond the right-of-way area onto, so it's limiting the area within private property where signs can be located.
Is it only political sign or is it any
No.
sign?
It's temporary sign. This regulation applies to temporary signs, which would be contractors, charitable events, political signs, and rental or sale of property, any of those category of temporary signs.
So in the past, we had a fairly good relationship with our ordinance about political signs, except for in the right of way and not in the right of way. Is this gonna affect the size of these signs?
That's a separate section. And that section, if we would repeal this, the size would stay in.
Well, I guess what I'm confused with is if we don't have an ordinance now, or do we?
We do.
So that there, that he's complaining about isn't being enforced.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's a problem.
So a property like yours with a fence,
Yeah.
so he couldn't put one on this side of his fence, on the
Correct,
street
yeah.
side of his fence.
Which make, yeah,
If
that's
you
correct.
enforce the,
Doesn't your property go to the curb?
Not always.
No,
No.
No.
Never.
No.
never,
usually
There's a
that's the
public-
sidewalk.
never.
Yeah.
Just the sidewalk.
Certainly
It goes to the,
it goes
so
to-
then why are we, well, if it doesn't go past the sidewalk, does it go to the other side of the sidewalk?
Not always, but most of the
Then why
time.
are
No,
we
it's the
paying
inside.
for sidewalk repairs if that's not our property?
I've been
That
saying
is the
this
state
for a
road
very long
code.
time.
Well, safety.
it's part of the street, right?
Yeah. It's in the state borough code that the adjacent property owner to the sidewalk and the curb is responsible for maintenance and repair of that area.
So to be clear,
Even though it's not part
Not
of our
really.
square footage of property.
Borough House should
Maintenance,
assess
not-
the road improvement charges as well. I mean, there's a lot of latitude.
Well, I know that, but I mean, we're maintaining the grass on the far side of the sidewalk.
And you're shoveling snow.
We're shoveling snow off of all this borough property.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Get a good
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Your public service is not unnoticed.
So let's get back to the signs then. So I didn't realize, would signs be prohibited on the borough side of my property?
they can't be on the planning strip.
They already are.
Right.
No, not a place. Somebody said I couldn't have a sign in front of my,
Well, technically, you can't.
Not- not- not
In
between
front
the
of your
sidewalk
fence,
and-
technically you can.
You can't have it in the road right away.
And not between the sidewalk and the curb.
That's the
No,
road.
but-
That's the right of way, not in the
And
right of way,
sidewalk
and it has to be,
And within the 5-foot
About 3
setback of
feet.
where that front property line is and 5 feet.
So, but
It
a
has to
place
be-
like Ron's,
Can
the
somebody
fence,
just
he
explain to
couldn't.
me, my property is here, and my fence is here, which means I didn't give up my property. It's right here, right on the edge of the sidewalk.
Correct.
And then there's another side of the sidewalk, which there's no signs over there, because you can't have here on my property, but someone's suggesting, because I put a nice fancy little fence up there, that I can't have them anymore.
That's what this
So that's
sounds like.
five-
Yeah,
They
It would
wouldn't
have-
take my property, I just put a fence there.
The sign would have to be 5 feet behind the sidewalk, which will put it behind the
As
fence.
currently.
But if they-
Yeah, Ron, if
Basically
it's your
the same as your
property, it
fence.
has to be
But
5
they-
feet back from their
So if I
property
take my
edge.
fence down, this issue
No, it
disappears?
doesn't make any difference with you.
So nobody can have a
It
sign?
doesn't, your fence is irrelevant, anybody can get.
Ron,
It's
well,
just
that the
Ron,
sign
Ron.
would be hidden by your
Be hidden by
fence.
your front picture, you can't put a sign within 5 feet of the sidewalk. From your house to the sidewalk, you can't put it within 5 feet of the sidewalk. That's what this ordinance is saying. Your fence, I believe, I don't know if your fence was all the way around your house or not, I only pass this many times a week. But you wouldn't be able to put it on the outside of the fence, you have to put it on the inside of the fence.
You're not.
According to
Yeah,
this,
your
one,
fence
Because of
is-
this new ordinance?
No,
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 this
this
is
is
not-
not.
Your ordinance is already
So
in.
you mean I've been
Illegal.
No,
I've been
You've
illegal
been-
all this time?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's the fence
You and everybody
everything-
else.
it doesn't, the fence doesn't matter.
So it's just 5 feet? So
Yes.
now we've started to interpret 5 feet.
So what Michelle's recommending.
It's never been enforced, it's always been written as 5 feet.
What Michelle's recommending is to get rid of the 5 feet setback from the curb.
Right, but it should not have said regarding political signs, it's any temporary signs. And I think that's
Correct.
part of the problem with the agenda.
Curiosity, I think in all of Birdland, there's no sidewalk, so where does that, how does that affect over there? Do you have a sidewalk?
Birdland
you
has
know?
12 feet
They-
setback.
That's not true, every street has a different setback, well, a different extension of the right of way. It's spelled out in appendix A of the zoning ordinance, which lists
Right.
every street and then lists the right of way distance. So varying anywhere from probably 5 to 10 feet of what those people think is their front yard is technically the public right of way, even though there's no sidewalk.
But your recommendation is to repeal the regulation as to all temporary signs, is that correct? Just to
Correct.
be clear. Okay.
It's, I mean, the,
What to amend the agenda?
no, because the motion doesn't include that it's political signs, the motion is strictly to approve enforcing it or not.
Well, you would not enforce it, you
Yes.
would repeal it.
Correct.
But then we have to change the
So
motion.
Steve's Lawn Care Service could put a sign up right next to the sidewalk then? Correct.
No, that's
If
a
it's-
temporary
If
sign.
it's repealed,
If it's
If it's repealed, yes,
but not
Yes.
now.
on the property owner's
But-
side.
It's still not on the right of way, that's a different,
correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it should be, yeah. You can put it anywhere on your property, just not on the right of way.
Well, you could make an argument that political signs deserve more attention than contractor signs, but.
Depends on whether you're a contractor.
Unless your contractor's running for something.
Two for the price of
Running
one,
for
right?
cover.
I haven't seen any signs in the right of way except for the one on the boulevard that's.
You know where they are
This
at the
doesn't
crossing.
See
I
indication.
don't know where that, I don't
This-
see.
But this doesn't address.
In a
it.
light year.
No, I know, what I'm saying is I haven't seen any on
Not yet.
public property yet, except.
On
for the
Museum
one
and
side.
Old Mill, right there at the corner. It's always, they always put them there.
Alright, well, does anybody wanna make a motion?
I don't think political signs should be prohibited like that, so I move to repeal that section.
But for all signs.
Yeah, I understand that.
For all temporary
All
signs.
temporary signs.
Yeah, I'll make
And
that.
if it becomes a problem, we'll look at it again.
We have a motion to repeal section
Recommend.
606. Yeah, we have a motion to recommend the council, to repeal section 606-B.3.c, falsity of the zoning ordinance regarding all temporary signs, placed on private property will not be, we'll just repeal that code. Is that agreeable?
But that's a change in agenda, right?
I don't think I do.
I do not believe it is necessary to amend the agenda to have the motion that has been made because it is germane to the subject matter that's already on the agenda.
Go ahead.
Can I
I'll let
say
Mr.
something?
I'll let Mr. Jadig speak, go ahead.
We've had, and this is not just my neighbors, put signs, political signs in trees. I've seen this not in only one place.
On their private property in the tree?
Yes. So I think that those are issues because those the manufacturer gives them, 2 sticks that go in the ground, which is reasonable.
They actually don't, you have to pay for them separately.
I know, but that's the manufacturer design for them to withstand wind and everything. If somebody just puts those things up in a tree with a string or something, that's not for manufacturer recommendation. So somehow I think that, I don't know, if we wanted to, it would be silly to have an ordinance to say don't put them on trees, but there has to be some, they have to be placed in a way that is safe. I mean, if you screw them on a fence, then yes. But other than that, just hanging them like this on a tree, or I've seen them with strings, with God knows what. So I think we have to look at it.
Fair, all right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll recommend the council to repeal section 606.b.3, small c.
Let's take it on.
Michelle, when was the hearing that was scheduled for today? When's that rescheduled for?
There was no hearing scheduled for. The
Stormwater.
property maintenance code. November infrastructure meeting, assuming it's still necessary.
Right, and that is the 20th.
That is.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, Western Berks Water Authority.
I just wanted to say a few words regarding the proposed increase. We have a board meeting this afternoon. Just to give you, it's sort of like a perfect storm. I'm very unhappy with the situation, but it's out of our controls. Anyway, inflation is the one way, which obviously we all know about. Water usage is down at a 10-year level for all 3 boroughs, believe it or not. Because we're using less water, appliances, what have you. And third is the planned $20 million revision, if you will, or improvement to the property. Remember, the Water Authority is 50 years old. Our filters, as an example, are completely outdated. And it's gonna be a major cost just to replace those filters, particularly with the PFAS and all these other things that are coming on. So that's sort of an explanation for it. As I said, we're gonna have our meeting this afternoon and discuss it. I just don't like that big an increase, but I don't know much I can do about it. But that's the reasons for it. And Chris, do you have anything else to?
No, other than financially, we're just trying to be proactive. It's either do this kind of increase now or do a much bigger one in a couple of years.
Yeah, we're looking at doubling our debt service, so we're saying, should we accumulate a little money up front instead of doing nothing now and then hit us with a 20% or whatever. So we're trying to soften the blow a little bit. The big question we have really is how much of that $20 million is gonna be grant? And we have no idea on that at the moment. It could be 0, it could be 80%, it could be 20%. We have no idea.
And for now, we're hoping for the best, but expecting the worst.
What's that?
I said we're hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. So we're, budgeting as though none of it will be grant.
Yes, we're being very conservative. But we'll discuss that this
Do we
afternoon.
have a number, do you have any idea what the proposed increase is yet?
What it is, right now, it's,
Increase?
talking this morning, it's 13%. Which, I lose sleep over that, but anyway. These are the reasons for it, and it's, they're valid reasons, but anyway, but we have our meeting this afternoon, and I can, let everybody know what we're gonna decide.
But at the end of the day, it's gonna end up, in my opinion, at least have to be a direct pass-through to the residents.
Yes,
Because it would be fair to have the borough pay for some of it, and that means the Hills people would be helping
Yes.
pay for the one.
And I really don't like bad treatment, but I don't know what we can do about it, we're just caught in a unique situation.
Right.
The entire Commonwealth in the same situation.
No, I'm talking about the water.
No, I know, but everybody's got water. I mean, we the only ones.
Well, all right, well, you live in Pennsylvania, American, there, the little rates are double ours.
Yeah, well,
They're already
No, he's
paying.
talking about the consumption, is the consumption down?
Yes.
yeah, I would just say.
10-year low, just for the water authority. I'm not speaking to anybody else, can't speak for anybody else.
I think it's generally true for everybody. Water usage, water sales are down, costs are up.
Right, but I was asking because I guess someone said maybe there'd be some grant money coming. Obviously, the whole Commonwealth has got a problem.
So the grant money we're talking about would be for the construction
$20
project.
For $20 million.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's all I had to say on that.
Ed, more bad news coming, go ahead.
Just another comment with Western Berks, is there any news or movement with the Topahaken or,
Bypass.
yes?
I was just gonna ask that. Because last month, you said
The
PennDOT was issuing a permit.
PennDOT has finally approved all the permits and what have you, all the paperwork, and I think the bid is out for,
It is.
it is.
And what about Buttonwood Street with the city?
I've not heard anything about Buttonwood Street.
Last I heard about Buttonwood was it's Rawa's problem and they don't see any urgency to do anything about it, so they have, I think they have backup prepared for it,
Yes.
but, with future projects, it doesn't seem to make sense to them to do anything about it at this time.
I'd just like to remind everyone that, now, we've been riding this way for a year plus.
Yes.
But if something were to really go south with the water authority, the way it is now, we could keep a third, maybe half of the borough in water, and some people wouldn't have any water.
Well, with the backup with Rawa, plus the fact, I think within the next couple of months, the bypass will be taken care of. But the contract is out to be bid, so hopefully that they'll be able to do it sooner than later. That's all I know at the moment.
And it's sort of my understanding that unless there's something truly catastrophic that puts the plant out of service for more than a few days, I think we have enough reserve, plus Rawa's prepared to run a line across the bridge
Put a hose across.
within a couple of hours, and that should keep us up and running for,
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen. That's, we don't wanna go there. But anyway, so yes, it's in the works. And maybe we'll get an update this afternoon. I can let you know if I hear anything new.
Okay. Any other questions for the Western Berks Water Authority? Hearing none, we'll move on to water. Jim, lead the copper rule.
We approved us contracting with Entech a few months back. They got all of any information I had on water billing, on historic pipe records, anything, ordinances, everything we have. They're working on that, and we're actually meeting for the first time Wednesday to have question and answer on the information I provided them. So that's progressing.
Good. And last month, we talked about the suburban testing. We were waiting for Western Berks.
Still, right, Western Berks still has plans to take that testing back in-house. Hoping that'll happen shortly, and when that happens, we will go back to Western Berks as opposed to suburban testing labs.
Okay.
Hasn't that been finalized yet?
No.
Okay. Anything else with water? We're good? Good. Sanitary sewer?
I do have some good news there, actually.
We'll take it.
At a few past meetings, there was the money talk not to exceed for the Woodland Road manhole, $60,000, and the sewer lateral on Wyomissing Boulevard, I forget the dollar figure on that, but both of those came in under budget. The Woodland Road manhole came in like 52, and the sewer lateral, I think, was 15 as opposed to 20.
Okay. And then we need
Item C shouldn't be on here. That was approved at a council meeting last week.
Okay, so it's fine, 'cause it was on here before. All right, so do anything on C? Anything else about the Spring Township Interceptor? Is it
I
Spring
just
Township-
like
is
to
it Spring
mention-
Township Interceptor or the West Lawn Interceptor?
This is the Spring Township.
Wyomissing.
Which is different than the West Lawn one.
Wyomissing Interceptor.
So Wyomissing Interceptor that Spring Township owns.
Got it.
Actually, we're piping this.
And just as a reminder, because when they, I don't know when they'll start, probably sometime in the spring,
Yeah.
late winter, early spring, just as a reminder, because you'll be getting phone calls. It's a big pipe, it's a 30-inch pipe, starting there at Dr. Sweet's on Reading Boulevard and meandering its way all through the parkland down past the duck pond.
I think I remember talking about this in the past.
Track hose, big piles of dirt, ugliness.
Yeah.
They'll have to take trees down.
Probably a few trees, yeah.
They haven't done that yet.
No, no.
Dr. Sweet's property there and Justin
Go,
Doyle's
if you
property.
can imagine, it'll go past Sweets, down towards Cambridge Avenue, underneath Cambridge Avenue, between the high school turf field and the creek, down Old Mill Road to the Conservancy, underneath Wyomissing Boulevard, and then down along the creek to just past the duck pond.
Just out of curiosity, because I can see this one coming. It's not gonna affect, it's not gonna endanger the turf field support structure, is it?
I would imagine the Entech people have talked to the school. It's not right next to
Not
it,
in the street.
but it's.
I mean, I know where the manhole is, I've
Yeah,
been down there.
yeah, yeah. No, that manhole isn't on that line,
Oh,
that's
it's not?
on the lateral to that line.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I think we talked about this before, we should be sending out a notice to the residents who could potentially be affected by that. Just let them know it's coming. Anybody
Or
disagree?
that could be a website item, I think, more than a letter.
If we're gonna start, I believe there's gonna be someone's property where a fence may have to come out.
I'm sure.
Yes,
I think it's the right thing to do is to notify them on that one.
I think they know.
I think they know too, because I'm talking about it, but I still think we should send it broader. Anybody disagree with that?
But next month, for next month's infrastructure, we should have those easement plans and the documents from, Entech and Spring Solicitor. They're supposed to have an advance, so Chris can review them, and we can review them and check them, and then next month we'll be able to see where any of these conflicts are. And we'll know which property, because they give us a copy of what they need from us as well as what they need from the individual property owners, not their own.
Yeah. I have no idea whose property's gonna affect, other than I know Dr. Sweet's right there,
Yeah.
Doyle's right there, but other than that,
Reed, Dr. Sweet's
further
and
down the line, I have
Reed.
no idea what's gonna affect. Cambridge, will it affect the Cambridge Commons at all?
No. Yes, it will, they need a wider
18
temporary
inch with a
easement,
30.
they need a temporary easement for construction there. But it's Cambridge Commons, the school district, Dr. Reedy and Dr. Sweet are the four non-borough ones that I recall from their list.
And from what I understand, talking to the guy in my position at Spring Township, him and Dr. Sweet have been talking for a year at this point. He's not happy, but it is what it is.
Don't blame him, but you're right, it is what it is. Alright, all good.
But those letters are in addition to putting information on the
Yes,
website.
yeah.
because other
When we
people
get
might
closer
not.
to construction, it's gonna be 3-4 months, probably.
Sooner they know, the better, though, so once we get the, what I don't wanna do is send a letter to someone who won't be affected by it. That's the last thing you can do. Okay, so, nothing more on, I lost my spot, on the Spring Township Interceptor.
They have it out to be two ways, one with doing that section of our line and one without. So we'll know the price differential when they have their bid opening. That section of their our line of our west lawn interceptor is right next to their Wyomissing interceptor. There's that section that you really can't build one without replacing the other. So they have that as, without a lot of extra cost, they have that as a separate bid item. So we'll know.
So I assume they'll be digging up, I know we didn't pave that circle down there called
Right.
Coolidge
Cooler circle, right.
How about me knowing that, 7.5 years? I assume that means we'll be digging it up, back,
Yes.
getting dug up, and it's gonna affect traffic and all other stuff right
Yes.
there. Alright. Streets. What do we have for streets? Some change orders.
Change order number 2 and a payout number 7, and it's for basically a reduction, the change order is for a reduction in price.
Alright. I'll make a motion to accept change order number 2 for the amount of $1,262,086.40.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Then we have pay application for that project, number 7, for the amount of $63,104.32 to recommend the council to pay. And I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. What do we need to discuss about PennDOT this week?
Nothing specific, copies of the letters that were sent for the roundabouts, both the letter sent to Donald Lurch and the response letter received are attached. It sounds like there's a meeting coming up in November, and I've confirmed that when they are ready to present the redesign, re-engineered plans, they will come in and speak to us.
Interestingly enough, on the circle on 222, on Friday, I was driving up to Ithaca, and I got passed by an 18-wheeler who went straight over. Sorry. Didn't even make it. I was like, what the hell just happened?
Is that the one that
Went
turned over by
straight-
the avocado?
No, there was no turnover, it kept going.
Just right through.
Straight to it.
That's why they build them up now.
That's why they're
Well,
building them up.
yeah, you won't go straight through it then, will it?
All right. Cambridge Avenue stream work. Anything new for that? That looks like we're still in the same.
That and number 10 are really just on there until they're ready to move forward.
Okay, fair. So nothing new on number 10. Number 11, do you have anything to discuss on the administration and police department need study?
Formation of a subcommittee that was suggested at the last the regularly scheduled finance meeting, about forming a subcommittee to talk about looking at this property and potentially repurposing it.
Do we need to do anything now? Do we need to form a subcommittee now?
If you wanna form one, you need to do something, yes.
Well, it would have to be small enough.
So it'd be 2 plus staff.
3.
3 would be a quorum. Oh, you're talking council members?
Yeah.
I thought you meant committee.
Oh.
There's
What's the
5.
membership here? 5?
5.
And 2. If it's a subcommittee of this committee, it can't be more than 2.
What's the subcommittee for a council?
Then it can be
Should
3.
have 3.
That's what it should be.
So then we should do that at a council meeting, not
We
here.
could recommend to council.
Shouldn't it be a subcommittee of at least this and finance? And have somebody from finance? You know,
Yeah, we
finance.
will. All the council.
Yeah.
The problem that we've had all year is you get into these long debates and you never get anything done.
Okay, so we recommend the council to have 1 subcommittee or 2? 1, my opinion.
One.
And
One
one sub-
3-person subcommittee from council.
All right, so I'll make a recommendation that we send the council, that we recommend the formation of a subcommittee of borough council members, for the purposes of, what's the topic here? Police-
Repurposing the existing borough home
Repurposing the
police
admin and
department.
police department.
So you could have a committee, as long as there's not more than 3 council, you could have a committee of other people on there as well.
Right.
There's no limit to that.
That's correct. That
If
puts you.
it's subcommittee of council.
If you have,
Subcommittee of this committee, and you had people not on council on this committee, then
If it's a,
Yes.
if it's a subcommittee of council, it would have to be limited to 3 council members. But if it's an ad hoc committee, which involves participation by 3 members of council, I think you could open it up. So I think you have options.
But if you end up with 3 people from council on the committee, and the other members of this committee yet to be decided how large it is, those people could overrule the 3 people on council and the 4 people that aren't on
The committee's not gonna make any decisions.
Well, what are they doing?
They're gonna come up with some ideas.
Oh, it's just an idea to
Present.
To present to the council and act.
Right.
Like this is the
Yeah,
decision.
try to get some solid foundation.
So we're gonna sit here and talk about that, we're gonna do an ad hoc committee where it's,
Yeah, I think we should have,
3.
council plus non-council, a
Right.
couple, not many, but a couple.
Chris?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
do that more.
So then I will amend my motion to say that, we are recommending the council to form an ad hoc committee of 3 council people and some number of non-council people to look into the repurposing of this building for both the admin and the police.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Anybody have any questions on it? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Is it, did you truly mean this building or this property?
It's property.
You said building. I just want to
Property.
clarify that.
Property.
Don't get it.
You okay with
Are we
that?
selling it?
As it said property, do I have to amend it again?
I think it would be good that the record is clear about what the intention is.
So I would like the record to state that I meant property, not just the building. Thank you. Is that okay with this?
Yes, absolutely.
Seconder?
Yeah.
Okay with everybody else in the committee? Okay. Sorry. Public Works Garage Project, Public Works Garage Project.
We had our pre-con last week, all the contractors are putting their schedule together, and we're supposed to be over to Berkey or it's supposed to be the GC by this coming Friday, and then Berkey will have the construction schedule for the next construction meeting. We're meeting every other week for the construction meetings.
But they may start doing some earthwork
Yes,
next week.
Next week.
So we're being asked to make a motion to allow the manager and the public works manager to have predetermined thresholds of change orders.
This is just a for instance, because it's already happened. Didn't even start yet, it's already happened. For them to do this grading, the initial grading work, the existing salt shed is in the way. And that's part of the plan, is to remove the salt shed and rebuild it. It's just bad timing, we need that salt shed, winter's coming. So we have to find some temporary place to store our salt, while they demo and grade and rebuild the salt shed. So, they're gonna propose to us those Jersey barrier concrete blocks somewhere else on our property. We're gonna build a makeshift salt shed, tarp it with a tarp, so we can load salt at the garage if we get snow this winter. It's gonna cost money to get the blocks in place and set them.
Just out of
And
curiosity,
things like
does it
that,
cost
do
for
we
any
need to,
salt shed?
do we need to come to this committee every time there's?
They do, but then we potentially, I mean, that is an option. Do we use West Riding salt shed?
Well, it's easier at our backhoes at the garage, our trucks are at the garage. This isn't gonna be big money, I'm just suspecting it's gonna be $5,000 or $10,000. We're planning on a large amount of money for change orders like this. I'd rather keep it at a garage, it just makes sense for all of our equipment is there.
So what dollar amount are you looking to?
We asked them to have it to us today, but I haven't seen it.
But we're asking, I haven't seen anything yet either. But we're just asking in general, I think, when these questions come up.
Right, this is in general. Because typically either.
We're staying within the budgeted frame.
The 300,000 that was approved for change orders, if amongst those individual change orders, is there a threshold, $10,000, $25,000, that you're comfortable with Jim and I seeing the change order and approving it and then making the committee aware after the fact? Or do you want every change order regardless of $5 or $50,000?
That'll just slow the process down,
Yes.
in my opinion, correct? Yeah, so,
It won't work, because there's gonna be things, we're gonna dig something up, and we're gonna have, Berkey's gonna have to put them on your behalf on Force account where they get paid T&E to do something.
and we have a budgeted number for unforeseen
We
change
do.
orders of
Yes.
$300,000.
Yes.
So I just think we make the recommendation as long as we don't go over the $300,000.
Well, some of that 300,000 wasn't just for change orders, some of that. was
Correct.
for
Furniture,
office
alarm
furniture,
system.
Fixtures and that sort of thing.
So maybe 150,000 is the threshold for now for change orders, and on the other side of that, we revisit with finance in this committee.
Yeah, just, so what was out of the 300, what was set aside for change?
I thought it was
I
300.
thought it was 300.
I thought there was a
I
300,
asked for 10% to be set apart,
No.
so I don't know what.
I thought that was
you
for
said.
like furniture and
We had that
fixtures.
conversation here when you brought it to mine and Phyllis's attention, and then we had it with finance as well, that, you know, of this budgeted cost of 3 point whatever, we didn't talk about office furniture, we didn't talk about an alarm system, we didn't talk about,
But I think when we're done with this meeting, we need to revisit that with Phyllis, because I thought those were two different line items, change orders and upfitting, I think there were two different numbers, two different budget numbers.
When it got
That
approved
is
for,
not-
for doing the project, it was
Yeah.
all local. I never saw it separated. Maybe
I-
it was, but I don't.
I
think it was
never
separated.
saw it separate in what was,
Isn't the new number 4.2?
yes, which includes that 300,000, but that's including office furniture and,
I thought it was 333 for the three different
That's what I
categories.
thought.
900 took it
Yeah, we
from
looked it up.
3.2 to 4.1. 300 for change orders, 300 for FFE,
what is that?
300 furniture, fixtures and equipment.
Yeah.
And then 300 was for the for Berkey and all of the construction management of the architects and engineers.
That's
and
another
project. Because we got from 3.2 to 4.1, and I remember it being 300, 300, 300. Coincidentally, there were three separate pools. But
That's not how it was at least presented in finance when we talked about the project.
if we only have 150,000 for change orders earmarked for that project, it's not enough. Definitely not enough.
But that's not even what we're voting on, like, we're voting on
Yes.
you
Right.
just, so let's just say 150, you can't spend over 150.
Typically, it's not done like that.
Yeah.
If I can interject and tell you how everyone else does it. There's a dollar figure that, say, Berkey can do something on their own as your construction manager. Then so maybe that's $5,000. Then there's a secondary figure that's maybe 30,000 or 50,000, that if Berkey agrees and Jim agrees, then Michelle can then authorize.
Right.
And then anything over, say that 50,000 and $1, it then has to come to whatever, that's another question for today. Whatever committee is going to be overseeing the construction projects and the change orders. So that's just how like other,
Right.
because you can't on a project like this, where you're retrofitting a building and building a new, there's gonna be things that pop up that you can't wait a month to get an answer on. 'Cause
Right, but I'm saying that number that goes to Michelle should be no higher than 150,000.
Jim,
I
Well-
actually prefer it to be
Total,
150.
total.
Well,
Total.
but it's per occurrence, not a
Right,
total.
right, per occurrence, right, but
Right.
you know there's.
But 150,
you
in
gotta
my
say-
opinion, 150 is too high. I've never seen anyone
75.
give the borough manager $150,000
But
change order
Right.
You were
authority.
saying, 550 and total not to exceed 150.
I would prefer a threshold of 50,000, no more than.
How's it?
That's how it got voted on, that makes sense to me, that's how I
Was it
remember.
combined
Yes.
into one?
that's what I saw.
Yeah.
I don't see another line on it.
Yeah, right.
And that's contingency and change order or interchange.
Yeah.
Right, but that was also supposed to be for the stuff we didn't
No,
anticipate.
No, that's-
you have a
But
that's-
you
separate,
have furniture, fixtures, equipment,
you have a
it's all
separate
here.
300,000
Yeah.
for that,
How much
for
is that?
FFA.
300
It just so happened the three different buckets were all 300.
here.
I mean,
All right, let's give,
How's
does
it
anybody have a
going?
problem giving Michelle and who's the other person, Jim?
Jim,
The ability to make change orders up to $50,000.
and obviously we
per
will keep you
occurrence-
informed.
Per occurrence. And is that okay, Jim McCarthy? You don't think that'll slow
Hey.
it? But that won't slow the
We're-
project. What I'm trying
No,
to
that's
avoid
fine.
is slowing the
if
project.
it's over $50,000, council or a committee should be looking at that, in my opinion.
Yeah, but there was.
I wouldn't want it
Within
to do
the
that.
budget of the project.
The credit card limits
Yeah.
would be right.
Jim and Michelle can approve change orders up to 50,000 per occurrence
Within the budget.
within the project budget.
I'll make that
And
recommendation.
they should apprise the infrastructure, I think, of those
Yeah, well-
changes after the fact.
Yeah.
But they should let
Absolutely.
us know about it.
I would
also
apprise
want- you
infrastructure
also
and
want-
finance.
And find, okay, well, either one, yeah,
Both.
both.
No, they don't need that. You don't have to
You
do
don't
that
need
one.
that?
You don't have to do that.
Okay, so there's a recommendation on the table.
Second.
There's a recommendation and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. $50,000 within budget.
Do we want to talk about having a groundbreaking ceremony and ribbon cutting when it's done? Anyone?
We can, but we don't have any, we don't know exact date of when it's gonna finish, so.
No, but I would like to get it, out to the elected officials on a county and state level that were very supportive of us getting the funding for that. It would be nice to very preliminarily put a bug in the air of, hey, at the end of 2024, we'll likely be having a ceremony to celebrate, we'd like you to attend, thanks for your support.
Can't get the check for this day.
We're gonna be waiting until 2025.
It's It's
Okay.
usually good, because if you have those political power to be that got you the money, they like to come to the groundbreakings.
They like to get their picture taken.
Right, and we already have, between Berkey and our office, we found golden shovels. Michelle thought they're actual gold, they're just Home Depot shovels, we sprayed their gold. They're not actual gold shovels, but,
Said I thought that was overkill.
so. It's a can of Krylon and a $10 shovel.
Yeah, we actually do one in the basement that's real gold
Yeah.
from Wyomissing Square. We can break that out.
Silver.
No,
Well, then,
Gold?
it's
Uh,
gold.
Do we need to make a motion to do this?
Just,
Yeah.
I brought up to Michelle that we didn't have one planned, and in our talking with Berkey, we came up and said, does council wanna have a groundbreaking ceremony?
I think you should do it.
Right, and they can start work before it, it doesn't have to.
What's that?
You gotta say,
Yeah, so I think we should do it. Do we need to make a motion to do it?
yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion that we have a groundbreaking ceremony when the time is to be determined based upon completion of the public works.
The
Motion is
groundbreaking's now.
Yes.
Well,
That'll be
we're
next
on
month.
groundbreaking of the,
Ground.
before it's done.
Yeah, but like, today we start,
I guess that makes sense.
we make like,
Groundbreaking is
we
when we
make like a
start.
little 4x4 pit with.
I was thinking cut the ribbon. I was thinking more cut the ribbon than I was.
Oh, well, that'll be the after, that'll be the ribbon cutting, rededication, opening.
Now I understand why we need a plan. Okay, I'll make
Right.
that, I'll make that
I
motion.
second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Invite everybody from infrastructure. Food cake.
And then just so, I assume we had the meeting with Berkey and contractors, infrastructure is gonna approve all the payment requests and change order requests that are above through this committee, then go to council.
We're gonna ratify,
Well, you might have some in the road, but all the payment apps are gonna
Will
come
come
through
through.
here.
okay.
We just wanted to confirm that, because we didn't, with it not being like a road sewer water project, we wanted to make sure.
Discussion on committee to approve payments that we just discussed, change order for temporary. We don't do anything for the change order itself, because you now have that permission.
Yes.
Okay. Ribbon cutting, not groundbreaking, and then, okay, we're good. Fast bridge fiber,
I'm leaving that on just as a standing agenda item for now. I've not heard anything since last month.
It's,
I haven't heard anything either.
it's a lot quieter than Wyomissing Hills section, I don't know why.
I'm okay with that.
Probably because they're busy in the hills
Working
trying
on
to
it.
actually get it to the house, like they set the lines for me, and then they couldn't get the fibers all the way through the lines, so they had to come back weeks later, and they finally, like, I've rescheduled with them a couple of times. So now I have another schedule, I think, next week to actually get it installed.
You don't have it yet?
I don't have it.
Does anybody have it yet?
Yes, there are plenty of people in the lower hills who have it, that are really happy with it.
The lower hills.
Down there,
Is it
down at the
distinction
bottom,
now?
Woodland
Only
and
somebody
Lawndale.
Tewksbury, that area.
Down there, Tewksbury, yeah. I'm on the top of the hill,
flat
Merry
ones.
Mount,
Prairie section of the hill?
down the hill.
Stone house.
So yeah, it's just,
We've referred to it for leaf picking or snow plowing, it's New Hills, Old Hills. That's
well, yeah, there's that too,
North of Grandview, south of Grandview.
yeah.
Project got the bid for the, stone house project, correct?
Will be put out, but not yet.
Okay. We know when it's going out.
Couple weeks.
Within.
You're meeting next tomorrow.
Yeah, it's more.
RFP for the Parkland study is going out on the 16th.
That's today.
Responses, so there's not much to do there.
Correct.
Anything more, any MS4 update?
Yeah, I just wanted to make everybody aware that this Wyomissing Creek Coalition, you always hear MS4, Wyomissing Creek Coalition, and we've been in that group, not we, that group has been in existence for 10, 15 years to comply with these MS4 regulations from the DEP. And we're finally getting a point where there's gonna be a shovel in the ground, and our money, this is what I want to make you aware of, our money is going to go to a project over in Moton by the High Brook townhouses, where there's a lot of washout and sediment issues in this tributary to the creek. So it's just as planned that we as a group, the 7 municipalities involved, all chip in money, we all take credit for the sediment reduction, even though some of these projects are not in Wyomissing proper. So, I just want to make you aware of that.
And we have been budgeting for those expenses.
We did the coalition asked for money on an as-needed basis last year. We knew this was coming up, it's a $350,000 project. They hit us up for 50 grand last year, and it'll be 50 grand again this year. And those costs are based on the percentage that we have agreements with each of the municipalities. I think ours is 20%, Spring Township's 20%, Coomer's 20%, and Brecknott's like 6%, and West Reading is 10%. It's broken down by an agreement that we all signed.
Okay. Anything else for the MS4 update from anybody? Does anybody have an old business they want to bring before the commission?
Who's awarding that contract?
The city, the town, borough of Newton is going to be the bidding entity. And that's a convoluted thing, but yes, Newton's gonna bid it.
Sorry, thank you.
Steve, I have one thing for old business. I ran into Herb Lovett at, the fire department open house last Wednesday. And it kind of fell under this committee and fire and police, the request for the crosswalks and the ADA sidewalks over in the hills adjacent to the playground and the Wyomissing pool were put in within the past year. And he wanted me to share with this committee and also fire and police that he sincerely appreciates that the borough took on that project. It's made a tremendous difference, and he's very grateful that council was willing to listen.
Great. Don't hear that a lot, but thanks. Any other old business for the committee? Anybody have any new business for the committee? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.
Did we-
Is that- oh.